This is the mighty River Sava, flowing for nearly 1,000 kilometers from the Alps in Slovenia right across to Belgrade in Serbia. It's the longest river within the Balkans, a vital artery that's borne witness to so much history, stretching all the way back to ancient and medieval times, and of course the turmoil of recent decades. Today, the Sava connects 4 countries that just a generation ago were at war. On my journey, I'll be exploring how today this river is helping to heal those wounds by boosting trade and tourism and creating a new identity for the region. And finding out why locals call this the vital heart of the Balkans. A nation of just 2 million people, Slovenia prides itself on its close relationship with nature. It's one of the most densely forested countries in Europe, and nearly 2/3 of its landscape is green space. This river, the Sava, has been a crucial trading route for centuries, dating back to 400 BC, when the Celts named it after their river god Savus, protector of merchants and travellers. And this is the river's source, the magnificent Savica waterfall, bursting from 2 separate points on the cliff face there. And my intention is to follow the river from here at its very beginning until it meets the Danube in Belgrade. It's a near 1,000-kilometre course, flowing through 4 countries that just over 25 years ago were joined as part of Yugoslavia. The emerald waters snake through the cliffs and then widen into one of the Sava's main tributaries, which has now become famous for water sports. And I'm getting a face-first perspective. This is belyaking. And yep, there's a hint in the name.
Watch out for the road!
It looks like a kayak, but you lay on top of it and use your hands to paddle.
Like many Slovenian kids, Luka grew up in the countryside, and the Sava was a huge part of his childhood.
I've spent my whole life in the same house, about 50 meters away from the river, so when I wake up, if I have my window open, I can already hear it.
Here in Slovenia, the river isn't just used for water sports, it's an important source of hydropower. And Luka thinks the river also has an important role to play in uniting the communities who live throughout its course.
We were formerly a part of Yugoslavia, so we are sort of still connected. Plus our languages may not be that similar, but they still have the same origin. Yeah. So we are still sort of one nation. And it's sort of nice to have the Sava River connect us all.
The river isn't always this placid. It can rise a metre higher in the autumn and winter and turn a lot more aggressive. Frankly, the relative calm of these rapids was more than enough for me to deal with. Not sure if belyaking is the sport for me. Further down the valley, 2 tributaries merge and the Sava starts its journey proper. And at the fork in the rivers lies this majestic showpiece, Lake Bled, and its historic castle of the same name. This is Slovenia's oldest castle, first built in medieval times. It's got a kind of fairy tale ambience to it. And because of its location, it's been a strategic lookout for 1,000 years. And standing here, I can kind of get why. you can see for miles. This place is legendary in Slovenian history. On the banks of the lake still sits the former holiday home of the father of post-World War II Yugoslavia, President Josip Broz Tito. Tito took the helm of the newly formed Federal Republic and more or less kept the country together until his death in 1980, when Yugoslavia began to fall apart. Slovenia became the first to break away, with a short-lived war that lasted just 10 days. It's been a sovereign nation-state since 1991. And my next stop down the River Sava is Slovenia's capital, Ljubljana. The city centre is made up of vast squares lined with Baroque buildings, and the streets are packed with tourists ambling around. But it wasn't always like this. Just over a decade ago, Ljubljana was clogged with traffic and the city's main piazza was a car park. But in 2006, the city's mayor made the decision to ban cars from the centre. Now the only vehicles allowed are these so-called cavaliers, electric cabs that give free lifts to those with luggage or who need extra help getting around.
If you had to compare how this city looked 10 years ago to now, can you tell me the difference?
Before 10 years we had here the cars and the buses, not the chairs, not the tables, but that was the parking.
Pete gor, no, pete gor. Pete gor. Pete, no?
So many owners of pubs, restaurants told me that they will lose the job after we close the city center. But after 2 years, these jobs increased. This black carbon decreased for 70%. And that's the future of our city.
And the children are still following you.
And it's not just kids that are using the car-free streets as a playground. Philip and Blash are ambassadors for the city. They met when one was a juggler and the other a gymnast, and then together became a social media sensation with their urban acrobatic antics.
We try to put Ljubljana on the map in our videos. So you imagine running in a circle or something on the floor, we would run off a building because we can.
And you've done that. You've actually run off.
Yeah.
Philip and Blash have good reason to keep the city centre, which doubles as their performance space, spick and span. And they've been part of the efforts to keep it that way.
Wow. Thank you.
Once a year we have a action. The whole Slovenia is cleaned up, and the river Ljubljana, they have divers, they clean up all the bicycles out.
And you take a big part in that in those campaigns.
Yeah, we try to help. We try because we're kind of strong, so we lift all the heavy stuff, help them to keep it clean and to keep it like on the next level.
Citywide clean-ups and specialist waste disposal points helped the capital win the accolade of being Europe's greenest city in 2016. And Philip and Blash are keen to encourage other locals and tourists to see potential in Ljubljana's spruced-up streets. Wow. And the gymnasts are firm believers that anyone can be taught to do this.
Just change the arms.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, like this.
And 3, 2, 1, go! See? I told you it's simple.
Yeah,
you
it's
can use
just
one arm as well.
my arm. But,
Yeah, push-ups. 3, 2,
yes.
3, 4.
I don't know how I manage that.
So simple.
It's kind of superhuman strength.
Time to leave this urban oasis and head downstream again to Radice. This region, like most of Slovenia, is densely forested and has a thriving timber industry.
Hi, Dushka.
Hi, Roger.
Nice to meet you. How are you doing?
Welcome. Hi, thank you.
Hundreds of years ago, the Sava was the only way to get the huge logs to major cities across the Balkans.
Is this like a tradition?
And I'm here to join other tourists to get a taste of those centuries-old rafting journeys.
Button up. We managed to revive this tradition because otherwise we would forget all that. And it was important because it was alive more than 500 years ago.
And Duška sees the Sava playing a much larger role in the region in the near future.
Now there is a perception of Sava as a connector.
Connecting with who?
With other communities along the river Sava, and most important, connecting also cross-border regions in Croatia, Bosnia, Serbia, and we already started to connect. Baby steps are there still, but yes, we are connecting now along the Sava River.
But before I head across to my next country on the Sava, Duška tells me I need to be fully initiated into life on the river with this time-honoured tradition.
Are you going to behead me?
No, we don't do that anymore. But of course, if you want to be a member of our team, you have to show us if you're able to sharpen that wooden stick.
Ah, you show me.
And just when I thought the wood chopping was bad enough,
You go on your knees.
Where's the axe?
You have to give the head down, like this.
baptized by the water of the river Sava.
So I'm now a rafter.
Next stop on my voyage down the longest river within the Balkans, Croatia's capital, Zagreb. Croatia was part of the Austro-Hungarian Empire until the end of the First World War, and you can see much of that architectural influence around Zagreb. The city has been fought over by competing armies for centuries.
In the 15th century, so the story goes, the Ottoman army was camped on the other side of the Sava River, just over there, preparing to attack the city. To deter them, a cannonball was fired with such pinpoint accuracy it landed on a chicken intended for the commander's dinner. So freaked out were the Turks by this that they scarpered and never returned to the city again. So the legend goes.
But ever since 1877, as a nod to this alleged act of defiance, a cannon has been fired every day at noon from this tower.
Wow, incredible.
Alem is a trained engineer who used to work on the Zagreb trams before he saw an advert for the position of cannon man in 2008 and landed the job.
Ovo je streljivo. Ono se sastoji od 100 grama crnog baruta. Ovo je karton.
Ah, why can't? What does it do?
The cannon firing has become a big tourist attraction in Zagreb.
Budući je od 1.1.1877. počeo pucanj i kako se na to gradska uprava zaista obvezala, tako da je već postala navika i građanima da štimaju satove u podne prema topu, prema pucnju.
Alem needs at least 15 minutes a day to prepare, and in his 9 years doing the job, he's never had a misfire.
Maybe we should pray.
No,
not praying. Okay, we can pray.
Just wait.
Just wait. Okay.
Please stay here.
Yep.
You stay here. Thank
Yep.
you.
It's 11:58.
Okay. Minuta do putnja. 1 minute to shot, please.
Well, I'm feeling a bit nervous, a bit tense. He's very focused, waiting for that clock to change. Whoa! Whoa! But even though I knew it was coming, that was still a bit of a shock. It still surprised me. Wow! Look at this. He's milking the applause. Another day, job done. Well done.
Have a nice day.
Thank you. Croatia's struggle for independence from Yugoslavia was more prolonged, complex and bloody than the Slovenians. Today, though, it's a country of 5 million and a very popular travel destination, especially Zagreb, Dubrovnik and the rest of its spectacular Adriatic coastline. But venture away from the capital down the Sava and you come across a lesser-known city. Sisak lies on the confluence of 3 rivers and it's home to Croatia's biggest river port. The town of Sisak is where the river Sava actually becomes wide enough for cargo ships like these to sail downstream to Belgrade in Serbia. And that's what's made the town such an industrial centre. Now, Sisak actually has a rich and colourful history, but in recent times it's been characterised as dull and dreary. In fact, most guidebooks don't even mention it. But that is now changing.
I am actually the 4th generation born here, and I lived with this town. I grew up with this town, and I just, you know, when you're reading something about your town and you're reading the bad news and you're thinking, what are you talking about? This is not how it is here.
So last year, Dana and her team set about creating Rethink Sisak, an art festival that uses the town's buildings as a canvas for murals. This one, by Croatian artist Lonac, was one of the first to be created. It's the biggest mural in Croatia and took 23 days and 400 cans of spray paint to complete. And how do the locals feel about this?
Well, at first, when we had to have the permission, they were first a little bit, what are you going to do with this? But then, when it all started, they came every day here, they brought him the lemonade and cookies, and they were very, very proud of it. They got really emotionally involved, as in, people from this building call this is our mural, which is what we try to accomplish, you know, for people to accept them as their own.
The murals are scattered around the city, each with a different theme or message. Dana shows me one that highlights a particularly painful part of Sisak's history.
During the World War II, this was the place where the children were gathered to be put in the only concentration camp for children in
Really?
Europe.
Just here?
Yes, in this general area.
In this general area?
Yes.
The camp was set up by the Nazi-affiliated Ustaša regime during World War II. The victims were Serbian, Jewish and Roma children. This mural by Austrian artist Robin Abramovich is dedicated to their memory.
I believe that the artist gave them a tribute that they deserved and maybe a sort of a place of remembrance of all those children who didn't make it. We called him to be a part of our festival because we, as a team, decided that his work does have that certain dark undertone that maybe we kind of lacked in the festival.
And needed to portray
of course,
this as
yes,
well.
because the art has to provoke thinking, so not just be pretty.
There are now 17 murals in Sisak and the festival has been such a success, they've decided to keep on painting. Mind you, people don't come to this part of Croatia just for the art. They come to see the country's largest wetland, which I'm heading through to my next stop on the Sava River, the marshlands of Brodsky Faraj, where I encounter a man on an unusual fishing expedition. Because Stjepan goes out every day to collect food for this family of storks. Stjepan found the mother Malina 24 years ago after she'd been shot and critically disabled by hunters. She still can't fly. Because Malina can't hunt, Stjepan has to help feed the chicks.
Maleno. Maleno moje.
The fact that I can get so close, incredible. And they're beautiful. Wow, congratulations. Over the years, a male stork, Klepetan, became Malina's mate. But each winter, Malina has to say goodbye to Klepetan and their brood of baby storks as he migrates to Africa for the winter.
Tako isto kad odlazi. Kad odlazi, jel on 3 dana stoji tu na ćošku daske I otkrene joj se leđima. Onda ona opet žaluje 10-ak dana, ja s njom onda u auto, idemo na livade, u ribe tamo. I tako da ju malo razonodim I onda me prihvati, onda smo cijelu zimu skupa.
This bond between Stjepan and Malina has become internationally famous and is even the subject of a brand new documentary, The Old Man and the Stork.
Cijelu zimu joj moram ložiti, jer one ne mogu zimu podnijeti. Sad ljudi mi iz Čilea su dolazili, nedavno su bili iz Oklahome, iz Kolorada, dolaze iz Australije, su mi dolazili Japana. Do ljude je dosta dirnila priča o mojoj požrtvovnosti prema jednoj ptici, jel?
And so the first half of my journey down the Sava is complete, and I'm beginning to grasp how important the river is to the people who live along its banks. Next week I'll be heading to Bosnia and Herzegovina, and then east all the way to Serbia's capital, Belgrade. I'll find out how a generation who were born by the Sava after the war in the 90s have new priorities, and why the river has become so important to the future of Serbia's capital. And I hope you'll join me.